Now, to tell you guys the story of Robert and what did you do, I got to kind of start with some background information. You see, I grew up in a really, really rural area. And by rural, I mean if you said library instead of library, you was an uppity hippie. Even now, if you ask Siri to give you directions to the house that I grew up in, she just plays the theme from Deliverance. A little bit of dueling banjos, but bing, 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 bing. And then she'll say stuff like, in 22 minutes, you will reach your destination. In 24 minutes will be your disappearance. Yeah, it was out there. And it was a trip growing up, that far out into the sticks. We had, at the edge of our property, we had some power lines that were leaking radiation like water through a soup strainer. If you stood anywhere near those power lines, you could hear them going zzz, 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 spreading like cancerous little fairy dust all throughout the land. On moonlit nights, it was actually kind of pretty. You get those nights, like those crisp, clear nights in October, big full moon, and all us kids would be out there playing near those power lines, and they go zzz, 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 and we'd all be like, oh, it's pretty. Look at all the colors. Oh, it was kind of like hillbilly fireworks. We're, we're all just out there playing as the cancer dust would rain down on us and everything, going, catch it with your tongue, catch it with your tongue. Oh, it tingles when it touches your tongue. That's the kind of stuff I had to play with as a child. And my friend Danny, he used to play near those power lines all the time. He reached puberty at age 7. By age 10, he was a superhero. The rest of us were just getting into BB guns, and we'd bring them outside and try and shoot bugs with them. And Danny could pick off a spider 30 feet away with laser beams from his eyes. Those power lines, they were like having your own personal x-ray machine. One time I fell and I went, oh, my leg, I think I broke my leg, mom. So I'm yelling for my mom. She comes out and she's like, all right, come on. Let's figure this out. And she helped me hobble over to the power lines. And she goes, okay, stand right there. And she stood me underneath them. She backed off a little bit and she just looked and she waited. And the power lines went zzz, 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 and she goes, nope, all the bones are good. No broken bones there at all. Killed a bunch more brain cells and a whole bunch more sperm cells, but no broken bones at all. So basically what I'm saying is, as you can imagine, in that time and at that place, my elementary school was not exactly a melting pot of racial diversity. I mean, if we had been a melting pot, it would have been comprised entirely of vanilla pudding, mayonnaise, and whipped cream, because we was really, really white. And until the 4th grade, my entire school was nothing but white people. And then when I was in the 4th grade, a black family moved into the area. And the son in the family, his name was Robert. And he was in my grade. He was actually in my class in school. And Robert and I became friends almost immediately. And now it had nothing to do with skin color or anything like that. It's just that I was a huge baseball nut. And come to find out, Robert was as well. So that baseball connection just, brought us together. We used to hang out together, talk baseball all the time. Now, here's the thing. Apparently, I had missed a white person memo at the time that said that we were supposed to hate anybody whose skin tone was anything darker than our oak wooden desks. And unfortunately for Robert, we had a bunch of kids in our class whose parents drove pickup trucks that had exhaust leaks, and all of those people got the memo. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for the fact that I'm pretty sure they were illiterate, I would say they had written the memo. They might have just dictated it. Although in hindsight, the leaky exhaust people, I'm sure they didn't know what the word dictate meant. Just be kind of like, did you dictate? I don't know. Who's Tate? That type of thing. It was hardcore hillbilly. But like I say, Robert and I became really good buds, and I don't even know what made me do it. We'd been hanging out together for 3-4 weeks, and one day we were just sitting there, and I looked at him and I said, hey, Robert, how come your skin is so much darker than mine? And without missing a beat, Robert goes, well, that's because God screwed up when he made you. He took you out of the oven too soon. You weren't done cooking yet. And that freaked me the hell out. I was like, holy crap, I'm raw. And Robert was a troll. He saw immediately that had really gotten to me, so he stayed right on it. He goes, yeah, you know, in the summertime when you go out in the sun, your skin turns all red. That's because God's trying to finish baking you. I started to cry. I was like, I don't want to be medium rare. And from that point on, Robert and I couldn't be friends anymore because I was convinced that on some hot summer day, he was going to eat me. I could just picture us playing Little League together or something, and Robert showing up in the dugout with barbecue sauce. But no, actually, Robert and I did stay friends. We're really good buds, and we had more in common than just the baseball thing. We also shared the fact that we were both bullied a lot. Him because he was black, and me because I was a fat kid. And I can remember one time we were sitting around and we were lamenting our bullied status within the social structure of the elementary school. And Robert got real thoughtful, and he looks over to me and he goes, well, at least there's hope for you because someday you might grow up and you won't be fat anymore. And that really got to me. It was like the first real punch in the gut moment I can remember ever having. You know, it struck me that, yeah, I've got options and Robert clearly doesn't. I mean, granted, my option would have required me to stop eating donuts. And the truth of the matter is, the percent chance that I would stop eating donuts was only infinitesimally better than the chance that Robert was going to wake up someday and not be black anymore. So, but at least, yes, at least I did have that as an option. And that really hit me kind of hard. But all this led up to what turned out to be one of the greatest moments of my life. One of those times when everything in the cosmos just aligned perfectly. It was just, I'll never forget this. It was in the springtime. The weather had just started getting really nice. So this one day we knew it was going to be gorgeous out. So Robert and I were all excited because we were going to get to play baseball at recess. So we're all excited. And Robert was even amped up more than usual because his parents had just bought him a new pair of cleats. Now this was really exceptional because they were plastic cleats. And that was a new thing back then. I mean, this is going way back. That was brand new. Prior to that, all baseball cleats were those big, long Freddy Krueger metal things. You know, they were good for running the bases or aerating an entire cornfield. They were just these big, gross things. And he had these cool, sleek plastic cleats, and he was so excited to go out and play ball. I was so excited to be back out on the fields and everything. We couldn't wait. So finally the bell rings for recess, and we came out from two different doors. We were in two different parts of the school when recess came up. So Robert was right near the baseball fields. So he ran out the baseball fields, and I had to run through several other fields to get over to him at the baseball fields. Now, in my school, and at that time, you have to understand that being bullied was just the thing. Nobody cared. It was just a way of life back then. I mean, it was even, if there was anything even a little bit different about you, they would assign you a locker number and the name of the kid who was going to be pulling your underwear up over your head on the same day. They'd be like, okay, now you're locker number 237 and Cletus will be twisting your nipples off. And unfortunately for Robert and I, we had the whole 5th grade class assigned as our bullies, the kids that were 1 year older than us. And so this is our day. You know, we're finally getting to go out and play ball. Robert's over there at the baseball fields. I'm running towards them, and don't they let the 5th graders come out at recess at the same time. And so now I see, here they come. Here come the 5th graders. They're running out, and I see several of them going right for Robert, and there's 2 of them coming right to me. And I'm like, oh, man, I just want to play baseball. I didn't want to face that at that time. You know, I don't want a noogie. I don't want my underwear up over my head. I don't want to lick the white dog poo. I just want to go play baseball. But 2 of these big 5th grade idiots are running towards me like, here we come. They're coming at me. And the bigger of the 2 kids was in front, and the other kid was several feet behind. And I was like, I just stopped even running towards the ball field. It's just like, accept it, just get whatever it is and see if I can continue on my day, maybe get to play some ball. But then something really unexpected and inexplicable happened. Somehow, I became agile. And I don't even know what convinced me to actually take action at this time. But as the bigger kid got close to me and he was charging in, he was going to, I don't know, he was going to body tackle me, knock me down with the shoulder, whatever. He came charging in, and at the last second, I deftly sidestepped him and I shoved him as hard as I could. Now, I was a fat kid. I got my hand into his back and on the back of his head, and when I shoved him, all that fat gave me a lot of oomph. He went right off his feet. Didn't take a bad step or anything. He just launched into the air. And the kid wasn't overly coordinated either, because he never even put his hands down to brace himself or anything. So his head went into the dirt like a lawn dart. Remember that stupid lawn dart game? The things you would throw up in the air? That was this kid. Boom, his head goes right into the dirt. And it was bizarre. He hit hard. And then his head hit. And then it was almost like in slow motion, because his body still had momentum coming up over his head. And he kind of went, and right over onto his back. And this kid's just laying there in the grass, and he's like, his eyes are spinning in two different directions, and he's going, like that. And now his buddy, who's still 10 feet away, he didn't come over to help him. He didn't come up to attack me or anything. He just stands there and he goes, "What did you do?" And I looked at him and I was like, "I lawn darted your friend. I didn't think that was confusing." And the second kid's just like, he's got these eyes that's huge, and he just said it again. He's going, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm not going to explain it anymore. It was pretty obvious." But then, for some reason, I looked over at that kid on the ground, and all the bullying, all the being picked on, it all started welling up. And I saw everything that had been done to me over those past few years embodied in his contorted little body down there. And I snapped. And I would like to say that I snapped in a really cool way, like Ralphie from A Christmas Story. And I went over, and I sat on his chest, and I said a whole bunch of curse words and hit him with lefts and rights, but I didn't. I started towards him, and I didn't even know what I was going to do at first. But about halfway over to lumbering towards him, it dawned on me. I was like, "Hey, I'm a fat kid. I'm going to give him the big splash." Just like every professional wrestler that was over 400 pounds at the time had done, I was going to give him the big splash. And so I go charging over, and I leapt in the air as high as, gravity would release my fat body. And I put hands and feet straight out, and boom, plop, right on his chest. And I hit him, and that kid, I heard every ounce of oxygen be expelled from his lungs at once. He just went like that. And I rolled off him, and I got up and I looked, and he's laying there in the grass, and he's doing this weird combination of crying and trying to breathe at the same time. He was just kind of like that. And I'm looking down at him, and his buddy's still over there, and he goes, "What did you do?" And I went, "It's the flying splash. Don't you watch wrestling?" It was awesome. I was standing there admiring what I had done, and I just happened to look up over at the baseball fields, and there was Robert. And as cool as what I had done was, Robert was taking it a step further over there. Robert was in the midst. There were like 3 or 4 kids that came at Robert, and he was channeling his inner Bruce Lee. Robert was a good athlete anyway, and I swear when I looked over, he was defying gravity. He was actually in the air with his feet going and kicking everybody with those brand new plastic cleats. It seemed to me like he was hanging in the air for 15, 20 seconds at a time. Kids are screaming and yelling and everything. Now, the plastic cleats, they wouldn't slash you, gouge you, or make deep cuts, but they would turn the skin over and they would scrape you up really good. They'd get a little blood dripping and stuff. Kids are yelling. Robert's going berserk. He's one after the other. And the fact of it is, it's a good thing that the plastic cleats came out that year, because if he would have been doing that same thing with the metal cleats on, Robert would still be in jail to this day. But as it was, he was kicking the crap out of all of them. There's kids running around. There's little blood trickling down their arms. Kids are crying, running away from him. And finally, the teachers come out to break it all up. And again, you have to understand the time period that it was. They just come in and break it up, and they're like, all right, boys will be boys. There was no reports to be written or anything like that. They just pulled us apart, and 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 the teacher that came over to where we were, the teacher comes over to the kid laying in the grass, and he looks down. And he goes, "All right, what happened to you?" And I'm like, "A lawn darted him." And the other kid's still standing there going, "What did you do?" But now this is how this is how thoughtful, caring, concerned teachers were about us at the time. This kid's laying there with potentially some fairly serious head and neck injuries. And the teacher goes, "Oh, you're fine." He yanks hold of him and he picks him up. He stands him on his feet, and the kid's like, "Oh, my neck, my neck." And the teacher goes, "We get inside, we'll put some bactine on it." And I don't even know if they still sell bactine, but bactine was the stuff you put on cuts, and it worked pretty well. It would make a cut feel better and help it to heal. But apparently it also cured broken necks as well. So that's something to keep in mind. You might want to keep that in your car. You get in a car accident or something, and you feel like you broke your neck, a little bactine apparently takes care of it. At least that's what my teacher said. But as they were getting it all squared away and all cleaned up, there was this one really great moment where I looked over towards the baseball fields, and Robert happened to be looking back towards me, and we caught each other's gaze, and we were just like, all right. It was just one of those perfect moments in time. It was indescribable, that feeling at that moment. And I think back on it, I'd like to say that just like in the movies, from then on, Robert and I were never bullied again, and the bullies became good guys, and we all sang Kumbaya together and hung out. But that's not true. Robert and I still got bullied. But I will say this: the bullies would be mean to us, but they do it with a little bit of caution after that. A kid might come up to push me down or something. They push you down and go, don't lawn dart me. And same with Robert. Before they bully him, they check and see what was on his feet and everything. So, we still got bullied, but no matter what else happened, we always had that one moment. But the wrap up to this story is, it's kind of sad because this was already in the spring, but before the school year even ended, Robert's family inexplicably up and moved out of the area, and I never even got to say goodbye to him. Well, I shouldn't say inexplicably. I think it was pretty obvious why the one black family in the area would want to move. But I think back to that time and to Robert a lot. And what I like to think is, if Robert ever sees this, sees a video of me talking about this, or could make it to a show, or in any way hears me talking about this, I just have a message for him. And it's just that, Robert, for all these years, I've had your back because I stayed fat.